Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today's our completed sales and pricing video that we do every week, albeit a couple days late. I've had some renovations in our building and it's been really difficult to get videos out the last couple days with tons of kind of construction noises. But I think today we'll get one done and we should be kind of back to normal in the next few days here. But prices and completed sales for CGC 9.8 books today. And really interesting time, I think, because just kind of getting the consensus of some videos I've been watching lately and talking to a couple people in the community and things like that. I think the consensus is that the comic book market is kind of correcting right now and has certainly corrected in 2019 when people are kind of thinking of gathering their thoughts for what happened in 2019 in the comic book market. Kind of seems that the market kind of stalled and is maybe even downward correcting right now. So I have a couple theories on, what could be happening, things like that. Want to invite everyone first, if you have some completed sales or prices, or, maybe you won an auction or you bid on something and you lost it, but there was still a completed sale. I want to start including those completed prices in these videos. So let me know in the comment section below, or add me on Instagram and send me a message on Instagram with kind of the link and the price of that completed sale and the issue, And, kind of stick to kind of key issues, like we kind of like those 80s and 90s CGC 9.8 key issues and first appearances and cool covers and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments and on Instagram of all, some completed listings and prices that are catching your eye. And I'll include them in the video. We got like 2 in this video. So, full list of key issues that sold, and really interesting. I'll kind of get into some details on maybe some comic book correction or whatever it might be. All these prices are in US dollars. They're all CGC 9.8s, and I'll have a full list in the description below. So the first issue is Marvel Team Up 141. Really cool, tied for first black costume, basically. Really cool Daredevil cover with black Spider-Man. One of these sold in a buy it now, so not an auction, just buy it now, straight up, for $2.99. And last year, I saw this book go for definitely over $350 in an auction. So in an auction too, so not... kind of a buy it now where someone's trying to get an elevated price. So this issue is kind of a good example, I think, of what's happening right now. This issue for $2.99, we'll call it $300. I remember going in for an auction, pushing $400, maybe even over $400 for a nice one, a Marvel Team Up 141. So Spider-Man books, I think right now, when you think about it, Spider-Man was in the Avengers movies. There was Into the Spider-Verse, which really surprised and just blew up. There was Spider-Man Homecoming, sort of before Venom. There was Venom, which kind of got the whole Symbiote Spider-Man complex really raring along. And then Far From Home did really well too. And Spidey was in that Avengers Endgame, which did amazing too. So I think right now there's like not a lot of Spider-Man promo, and we're seeing that in the books like pretty big time. And I think what happened was a lot of people were just really got used to basically over the last 2 years of Spider-Man books, prices in Spider-Man books, getting used to those type of prices, which are about, about 20 to 30% more than what some of the books are going for right now. Kind of being that there's no Spider-Man movie, we're in between Venom movies. So yeah, Marvel Team Up 141 for $300. I think in the past year has usually went for about closer to $400. So that's kind of what you're seeing in Spider-Man books. Next book is a good example of that, another one too. Amazing Spider-Man 316. That first cool Venom cover, Todd Mcfarlane cover. This price was sent in by Brett Winters, who's part of the Team CGC 9.8, and got in touch with me on Instagram, sent me this completed listing. It was $202.50 for an Amazing Spider-Man 316. Now, there have been many times in these videos in the last, since we've been doing them, so about 6 months here, where this book has gone for like $270, $260, $280, maybe even $300. So to see it go over $202.50, I think is a really good price, and it's kind of telling you what's happening in these Amazing Spider-Man books. I think, especially being with this specific issue being Venom, we're in between those Venom issues. Now that being said, I think it's a really good time to buy like this book for $202.50. If you can grab an Amazing Spider-Man 316 kind of right now. And I'm sure once Venom 2 comes out, you'll kind of enjoy some of the prices you'll see at that time. If you buy it for $202.50 now, when Venom 2 comes out, I can imagine you'll see some going for $300 or maybe even over. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, even though we're seeing a correction in Spider-Man books, I think it could be a really good opportunity. I really do. Spider-Man's so iconic. He's one of those iconic characters that's just going to be around forever. There's always going to be movies coming out of Spider-Man, so you kind of take advantage of those lulls. Okay, moving on here. Batman 404 sold. So I got one here. One sold last week, a couple days ago, for $109.35 in an auction. Batman 404 is looking pretty good in a new case. And yeah, you know what? I was watching this one, and I happened to win this one. So yeah, I got another Batman 404 coming. One of my favorite Batman issues. Definitely one of my favorite like budget Batman issues. Kind of retells the origin of Batman. And Batman Year 1, Part 1, classic cover. And yeah, just a great book for the price. And yeah, when I think about buying multiple copies too, that's one I kind of want to have a bit of an inventory of for my store or whatever when I get older, if I want to sell these. Next book here, related to this one, and it was sent in from Alex, who's Old School Comics on Instagram. Completed listing, Batman 406. So this is going to be Year 1, Part 3. So kind of a secondary, maybe not really key, but in the CGC 9.8 nonetheless, he grabbed one for $53.99. So next book here is an X-Men number 4. So this is from 1992, the X-Men series with Jim Lee. First Omega Red, this one, X-Men number 4, key issue. First Omega Red, cool villain. One of these sold for $99.99. And that's getting toward the lower end for this book. You know, I usually see them go kind of $120, $130 for a nice one. So that's a really good deal on that book. Okay, next book here is a Secret Wars number 8. So this book's the origin of the symbiote costume from the 80s. Yeah, Marvel Superhero Secret Wars number 8. A really popular key issue. And this was a really nice copy, actually, because you see this issue sometimes go for lower. So that's the thing. You know, I just kind of got done explaining how Symbiote and Spider-Man books might be in a correction, but this book's seemingly going for full price. It was a really nice one. It went for $241.50. Really nicely centered, really nice colors in a new case. This is you see a lot of these, and this was like a better example from the many you see, which tend to be somewhat not centered, and the colors fade on this issue quite often. You can kind of tell when the colors are looking a little fadey quite often on this issue, or it's easy to tell. So this is a really good looking copy for $241.50. So that's a firm price for that book. Somebody had let me know that they had purchased one of these for $200, I think it was. Yeah, so one going for $241.50. Batman Vengeance of Bane sold, and 2 of them sold in the new case. Both looking pretty good. Pictures looking pretty good on both. Gives you an idea of some of the range here. Batman Vengeance of Bane, first appearance and origin of Bane. One sold for $213.50 and one sold for $250. So the one I bought was $225, I think it was. So kind of in between those, but gives you an idea of, you know, if someone wants a book right now and there's not much out there, they'll, you know, generally pay $250 instead of $213.50, which was $213.50 was an auction. So that's kind of, I would say, a fair market value price, like a cheap price for Batman Vengeance of Bane, a really good price, $213.50. Next one here is Uncanny X-Men number 122, first Mr. Sinister, and this one was in an old case, so, you know, old case you're probably expecting about, with this book, $20 to $30 less than this book in a new case. So in an old case, this one sold for $157.50. And I've seen quite a few of these sell for like $210, $220, maybe even $230. In a new case, though. So this one being in an old case, still, I think, a really good deal. $157.50 in an old case. Looked pretty centered, too, actually. Yeah, this was, I think, a pretty good deal for that book. And, you know, tough to kind of see if that book is correcting, maybe. With that one being in an old case, I wouldn't put too much into that. The next book here is a Wolverine Limited Series number 1. So this book here, Wolverine Limited Series number 1, this was a nice one, and it sold for $270. Yeah, $269.99. So sold for $270. And, you know, this is such a classic book. I would characterize this book as a book where it's not going to be affected very much by promotional material. I mean, unless a Wolverine movie came out or something like that. But right now, not much being affected by it. And this book has pretty much went for like $270, $275 last year as well. So in a sense, this this book and some of the other books I'm seeing, there's still firmness in some prices of books. So I'm almost thinking that I think a little bit of this, comic book correction could be more, the books that are more correcting right now are kind of Spider-Man books. And like those really, really hot Silver Age appearances that everyone was talking about in the past 2 years. So Hulk 181, Amazing Fantasy 15. And in that case, I actually think that's a healthy type of correction. Because those books have been on a tear for years and years and years and years. Every now and then you're going to have like a down year or a year where it takes a breather. And I feel like the comic book market's kind of taken a breather more so than like collapsing or anything like that. And when you see a Wolverine Limited Series #1 go for $270, I mean, that's a classic book, and that's a price that's been going at last year and the year before, so it's like a steady price. So that kind of makes me think, the market's not collapsing or anything like that. It's just kind of pockets where the promo has been really high for the last little bit, and there's a couple other books that'll there's evidence of that too, but keep getting into it here a bit. Amazing Spider-Man 361. One of these sold a newsstand copy in an old case though. So I got a newsstand copy. Mine was like $4.05. So a newsstand copy, first Carnage, sold in an old case for $3.95. So pretty much the same price as mine, I would say. In the old case, a little bit less. So that seems to be somewhat still firm. Next book, a really cool one to see sell is Batman Beyond #1. But this one's a signature series book, and it was signed by Timm. So, yeah, the creator of Batman Beyond and the classic creator of like the animated series drawings and all that. So the guy you would want to sign this book. So Batman Beyond #1, one sold, signed by Timm for $600 last week. And I saw one in an auction sell, signed by in a blue label for $475. So I kind of feel like that's a pretty good deal, actually. Yeah, $600 signed. For a book that's really hard to find and really popular, Batman Beyond #1. One I recommend. Yeah, this one was the UPC code first print version, so yeah, really nice book. So a little more evidence here of kind of the Spider-Man fallout, and not to use the pun, but Ultimate Fallout #4, first appearance of Miles Morales. 2 of them had sold last week, and they were from the same seller too. So I'll just give you the prices and maybe we'll get into it here. One sold for $322.99 and the other one sold for $305.99. So, I bought mine maybe a month or two ago for now about $355, I think it was. And I mentioned that's kind of a good price because they've been going for $400 I've seen them go for $400 quite often. So I think this is another really good example of just the Spider-Man hype kind of just tapering off and lulling down for a bit because Into the Spider-Verse was so good, and Far From Home, and again, Spider-Man just been in a lot of promo material, but not in the last 2 months, since Far From Home has kind of completely calmed down. And again, I think, you're just seeing it reflected in kind of these obvious Spider-Man key issues. So, to have these go for really close to $300, honestly, with, I've seen some teasers on Instagram of the new Into the Spider-Verse movie that's going to be coming out in a year or two. Venom 2 is coming out. I'm sure there'll be another Spider-Man movie after all those too. So even though we're seeing some softness in, some of these Spider-Man books, I think it's basically the time to buy pretty much. Or you can feel comfortable continuing to buy. Like, I don't think you have to rush out and buy or anything, but I'd feel more comfortable buying now than I did, last year, even though I did buy a lot last year just because I wanted to, but but yeah, I'd almost feel better buying now that the prices have dropped. A book that I've had some questions about before, Teen Titans #12, but this was the foil Comic-Con exclusive variant that had sold in an auction too last week. So you don't see these sell too much in an auction. But one of these sold, Teen Titans 12. This is like the first appearance of Batman Who Laughs in the first print, but this is like the foil convention version, so it's not really the first appearance, but it's the same cover, just a foil version. $86 one of these sold in an auction. And I've said, people have asked me, oh, what about that convention version? And it's not really the first appearance of him. So to me, there's no reason to buy this book. I wouldn't purchase this book. I would put your money toward a Teen Titans 12 first print, first full appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. yeah, that one's going for like $350, $300 to $350, depending on what kind of deal you get. Seen them even go for more than that, but that's a really kind of popular, hot book right now. And yeah, you know, any kind of foil convention version of you know, a first appearance or something like that. You know, if they didn't come out with the issue to actually be the first appearance of the character, then usually I just recommend you gotta get just the first appearance, the first print. That's what all the collectors are gonna want. That's who people like me who go kind of key issue hunting, they all want the first appearances. So yeah, I'd recommend kind of just buy Teen Titans 12, first full appearance of Batman Who Laughs instead. Next book is a Star Wars 42, so I brought mine out, Star Wars 42. I got one in an old case. Really nice copy, though, in the direct version. Yeah, some of them are in the newsstand version. But this book's, you know, I wouldn't say it's heating up right now, but you got the new Star Wars movie coming out, Mandalorian's out, so, you know, kind of Boba Fett kind of looks like the Mandalorian, so I guess that's one thing. But one had sold last week in a new case for $360 in the CGC 9.8 white pages. So yeah, in an old case like this one, you're probably looking at more like $310, $320. And this was the one that sold for $360 was a direct version in a new case, looking pretty good. Next book, Batman: The Killing Joke, saw one sell for $155. So that's, you know, kind of near the lower end of Killing Joke prices. I would say Star Wars 42, that $360, that's kind of a fair price. So in a sense, that kind of makes me feel that maybe the comic book market's not correcting either, but then you have a Star Wars movie coming out, so that is probably artificially inflating that, actually. So, yeah, you know what, maybe that's not really the best book to look at. But The Killing Joke for $155 is near the lower end. Like a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week it was like $175, and then one went for $200 as well. So that's kind of the range on that book. Cool book here I saw sell, Amazing Spider-Man number 431, Cosmic Carnage. That's a book I got, first Cosmic Carnage, basically. Really cool Carnage Silver Surfer cover where Carnage takes over Silver Surfer from the late 90s, this book, mid to late 90s I think it was. One of these sold for $184. And pretty sure I paid like $140 for mine, maybe $150. Yeah, I think I got a better deal than that. So, really cool cover. This is like, I always recommend to buy the first appearance of Carnage, which is the coolest, like, classic 90s cover. But this is pretty much my second pick for like any Carnage comic ever that you could ever buy is like Amazing Spider-Man 431. Just such a cool cover, and one that's kind of more underfollowed, I would think, than some other like obvious other Carnage issues from like Maximum Carnage and stuff that a lot of other people like. So next book is an Uncanny X-Men number 266. First appearance of Gambit. One of these sold for $379.99 in a new case. And that's kind of near kind of the higher end I've been seeing lately. So saw quite a few of these sell for like $325, $320. I think even $310 it might have been a couple weeks ago in one of our videos. And then $345, $340, $350. Saw those, like that rings a bell a lot from the past 6 months, I would say, with this issue. So yeah, $379.99, a little bit elevated, but looking pretty good too. It wasn't like perfectly centered, but pretty good looking one in a new case. So, you know, pay a couple, you know, $30 extra to get it now kind of thing. Okay, and the last issue here is one I don't think I've ever mentioned before, a modern issue though, and one that's come out kind of in the last 10 years, I think it is, maybe a little bit older than that. Totally Awesome Hulk number 22. It's the first Weapon H, so Hulk kind of gets the Weapon X treatment with like claws and everything. Yeah, kind of to be honest, a really cool kind of modern key issue that you can grab at kind of an affordable price, because one went for $79.99, so $80, call it, which I think, yeah, is a pretty good price. Maybe if you waited for like an auction on that, you might get it for like 70 or like in the 60s possibly. But yeah, cool cover, and if you wanted it like for $80, I think that's not a bad deal at all. Okay, and that is the last book for today. Yeah, you know what? I think as far as the market correction, everything's going on, I feel like it is more mainly Spider-Man books for the most part. You know, even reading my comic book price guides, and I like to read the Overstreet price guides where the Overstreet advisors talk about the comic book market. And, you know, just from what I read in the past few years here, everyone's talking about that Spider-Man books are really heating up, and especially with Amazing Fantasy 15. So obviously these price guides I'm reading are about a year or two old. So I just think, and there was even a lot of those Overstreet advisors recommending sort of, you know, Amazing Spider-Man 252, first black costume, Amazing Fantasy 15 cover homage. That was highly recommended in, like, I think it was maybe the 2 years ago price guide, Overstreet price guide. So I just think that mixed with, you know, Amazing Fantasy 15 has done so well, mixed with all the movies coming out with Spider-Man and Venom, and Spider-Man's in Avengers Endgame 2, and Spider-Man Far From Home, and Into the Spider-Verse was like a surprise smash animation hit. So I think we're cooling down for Spider-Man right now. I think we're even cooling down for, like, Silver Age, you know, Hulk 181, Amazing Spider-Man 129, like, probably just leveling off, cooling off, which I think is healthy, because those books have been going, you know, have been on a roll basically for the last 10 years, and, you know, nothing goes up straight, and I don't see those books collapsing at all. But maybe a little bit of softness, and, you know, especially with Spider-Man, I'm seeing, you know, some of these Batman issues, though, are going for pretty much full price, though. You know, first appearance of Bane, still going, you know, for full price, sold for $250. So, yeah, I just think a lot of the things that were hot in the past maybe year, 2 or 3, the obvious things that were hot, I feel are tapering off. And for me, that's mostly, like, Symbiote, Amazing Spider-Man books. So maybe that's where, you know, the perception that a comic book correction is happening right now. And maybe there is a correction and it's a lull. But overall, I actually do think it is kind of like a healthy correction. Because, yeah, comic books have just been on a tear, and there's been nonstop movies for the last 10 years, and, you know, it almost makes sense that maybe there'll be a bit of a lull right now. But I would personally, yeah, buy something. You know, I wouldn't look to just pile in at this time or anything, but I think it's still good to pick away and try to find some deals for sure. Okay, blabbing on too long. I would, if you haven't already, invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. And when you press subscribe, click the bell, get all our latest notifications for new videos. And yeah, we'll be back to kind of more consistent videos, I feel, in the next couple of days, getting all our renovations around here all completed. But thanks for watching the video today, and I'll see you on the next one.